So, I bought into an idea until recently that sci-fi of the harder kind had been dying for the genre. The harder type of sci-fi was not on the top. Now we were seeing more sci-fantasy or just science fiction that wasn't super focused on ideas become the mainstay for the genre. I was convinced that was true, and it was based off a few different sci-fi stories I had read, but now I see I was wrong in thinking that. Because between The Expanse, Bobverse, Murderbot, and several other sci-fi stories I've read, all published in the recent decades, I'm seeing sci-fi still absolutely has a strong vein of the genre that's pushing forward to have ideas at the forefront. And there's nothing wrong with sci-fi. It doesn't have kind of the scientific exploration thought process at its core. I'm okay with that. It's just, in my mind, never what I've considered to be the sci-fi I want to read. But especially with two reading experiences before I got into Murderbot here today, I was kind of like going, oh, maybe there are more consistently idea-driven sci-fi stories out there. They just have ramped up the character and narrative elements as well without necessarily detracting from this, you know, Heinlein, Asimov type sci-fi mindset where you kind of just really want to flesh out an idea. And All Systems Red has kind of solidified that for me. I guess the 1, 2, 3 finally proved we're still doing this, and I love it. So if you're not aware, I've given pretty positive reviews for sci-fi that has kept me engaged on a story level and kept that solid through line of what would these experiences actually realistically be and predictions for the future. But maybe none has impressed me more than All Systems Red, because this is a quick read. For me, right now, it's election day, and I just wanted something to distract myself, and I sat down with All Systems Red. I did not expect to be able to lose myself in a book right now. I did. I finished the book in about 3 hours. This is a quick read, and I was completely swept away by it. All Systems Red, the first book in the Murderbot Diaries, might be in my top 3 sci-fi novellas of all time, and this is a field of literature where short stories and novellas are prevalent. I have read a lot of various sci-fi novellas out there, many of which I adore, but this one has just hit different, and let's get into exactly why. All Systems Red, and I assume as someone getting into the series now, Murderbot follows one Murderbot who has hacked his way through the governing system in his mind and is able to be a free-thinking, feeling individual, just kind of pretending he's not. That's something we've seen similar before, but this is first person for this Murderbot, which I actually found to be really engaging. I can't think of a time I've actually read from first person of an AI of this type who is such an emotional, well-realized character in this exact situation. Because this character, this Murderbot, is, how do I put this? Depressed, extremely socially anxious, and just wants to like veg out, not pay attention, and watch TV and forget the world. Rather apt for today. And in terms of the actual story that this then idea and character progressed through, it was the exactly right vehicle to bring us, the readers, through the narrative. Especially with sci-fi, one of the biggest criteria you guys know I look at the strongest for this genre is how well did the author accomplish what they wanted to. Well, for that particular feature, I think this is pretty goddamn flawless. Martha Wells just exquisitely wrote the story she intended to and executed it phenomenally. There's a reason you're seeing Murderbot get so many positive reviews, it seems, as a series, because this was so rock solid just as this novella. I'm pretty confident as a reader the rest are going to follow up just as strongly. And that's not something I like to say easily. I'm pretty skeptical when it comes to like the follow-up, but this was technically so solid, I'm just gonna say like that was exactly what it needed to be. I do want to say, like, in terms of world building and atmosphere, that's probably this book's weakest element, because it is a novella and it decided to focus in a certain way. So if you're really into sci-fi for sci-fi worlds, like The Expanse, for example, you may not necessarily get that here. This is a very cut and dry character exploration within a sci-fi world. Additionally, some of the side characters are a bit weak, and that's because this is very much so, here's the person you're supposed to care about, we're setting this up. It's novellas leading into full-length books about this character, so it's just like we are building the foundation, the roots for Murderbot. Don't care about anything else. So I appreciated that and acknowledging it going in. I think the book would have been weaker if it tried to do more. Blow out its page count and stuff that we're not necessarily care about because it's not what the series is going to focus on, I predict at this point as a whole. So I enjoyed all of that. I could see some people not loving it. And one final point I want to hit on. When I start talking about specifics like this, I usually get comments that are like, I want examples of what you're talking about, like authorial intent, and be able to compare and contrast. If you'd love to see a phenomenal example of how for this book, they didn't focus as much on the world and instead were more focused hyper on character with less pages, and one that was focused more on world with still having an emphasis on character and utilizing more pages to that extent, check out the original and compare it with All Systems Red. That would be an absolutely extraordinary back-to-back read you could have for a concise, clear, like this is more world-focused, this is more character-focused, and how to utilize less pages to accomplish similar things. Because I think that's actually be a brilliant way to experience something that I'm trying to point out here. Pacing, I mean, it's a novella, so it's not really gonna be slow at any point. It's just moving you through the ideas, the world, the setting, and the story, just bang, 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 bang. But it does manage to actually build the correct characters and give you a feeling for the world and crew, which was quite impressive. The story itself, I don't want to give away, but there's a bit of a mystery incident kind of space anomaly thing going on, and that's nothing super special, but it didn't need to be, and it would have detracted from the characters. It's one of those rare instances with the type of idea being put forward, the correct maneuver from the author is not to focus on the story, but instead the characters at the heart of it to the maximum degree, and Martha Wells, as I said, knocked it out of the park. The only people I could see really not digging this are people who detest science fiction and absolutely don't want to read about a depressed, anxious murder bot, but I think those will be very few people because hot damn, is this gonna be something I recommend to everybody, especially if you're someone who enjoys the like of Bobverse. I think the overlap there is tremendous. Even in terms of the world, there were a few creative choices with the presentation of this bot that were really engaging and a bit different. So overall, I just think this is one of the most complete pictures I have come across as a reader, and the fact that it's a novella is just something I'm still trying to get my head around. I also picked this up same day that I finished Rhythm of War today, and that was a bit of whiplash. I also found myself emotionally relating to this character much more powerfully than I thought I would. Like, you think AI, robot, like, yeah, they can make it a little bit relatable, but in terms of the conveying of this character's feelings of anxiety and depression and awkwardness, it's better than pretty much any author has done recently for me for like a human character, and the additional hurdle of me in my mind being like, that's a robot, and still feeling that was just another bit of kudos to the author for being able to accomplish this. I don't normally review novellas here in the channel because there's just not enough meat a lot of the times for me to get into in a review. That's why I haven't actually reviewed a ton of sci-fi novellas that I've read. And tonally, I just want to really nail home the tone here for Murderbot. It's this brilliant combination of brutal, compassionate, and detached that all blend together to have a very distinctive feel to the read. I can't say I have found this exact feeling when reading a novella before. There's one quote on the back of the book that says, "Meet your favorite depressed AI since Marvin." Amazingly, I might like him more than Marvin. Maybe, don't hold me to that. Let's go ahead and get in the numbers though. Overall for my review here for the first book, The Murderbot Diaries, All Systems Red, I'm feeling a very solid 9 out of 10. It's one of my favorite sci-fi novellas, and I'm willing to confidently say that first day of reading it. Love it! I unabashedly, unashamedly love this first book, and I just went ahead and ordered the next 4, all in hardback, because this is going to be something I want to have on my shelf forever. I do want to quickly note here at the end, I'm actually going to be buddy reading this series now with Murphy Napier, so if you want to read it along with us, pick it on up now. It seems like the time to do it if you want to be a part of that in this community and hers. That is my thoughts on the first book in the Murderbot Diaries, All Systems Red. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here, and have a good one, y'all. Peace.